Hey, what's going on there, guys? Nick here from Absolute MTG, and I'm here with the Insatiable Hunger intro pack for Born of the Gods. So like we did with the Theros intro packs, we're going to open this on up, take a look at the intro pack. We're also going to open up the 2 booster packs that are included with this intro pack, and we are going to try and fit some cards from the booster packs into the actual intro pack itself. And try to improve it, or at least take a few minutes to look at some of the options that we have for things that would be commonly pulled in terms of commons and uncommons from Born of the Gods. Just some things to give you guys some ideas of where to build on from with these intro packs. So we have our deck here that we are going to take a look at. We also have 2 booster packs that are included with each intro pack. The booster packs are randomized, so nothing that I pull out of here, out of the booster packs, is going to be guaranteed for anybody that goes and purchases one of these intro packs themselves. So the booster packs are random, but it's still sweet to be able to do a little bit of an exercise with these. We also get a insert for how to play Magic the Gathering for you guys that are extremely new to the game, and there's also an insert that talks about each individual intro pack and the contents of the decks of each one of the intro packs. So it's useful for you guys that might want to consider purchasing multiple intro packs, like all the intro packs from the set, but we are going to be covering them on the channel here, so you'll have a first-hand look at the deck lists themselves. So let's take a look at our actual deck list first, take a first-hand look at it. And we do get some multiples of things in here. We do get 1 foil rare and 1 regular rare. And our first card is Nessian Wild's Ravager, so this is our foil rare. We have a Reckless Reveler, another Reckless Reveler. We have Voyaging Satyr, and another Voyaging Satyr. Swordwise Centaur. We have Opaline Unicorn for ramping. Nessian Courser. Satyr Piper. Fanatic of Xenagos. We have 2 of those, which is actually pretty sweet. Setessan Starbreaker. Cyclops of One-Eyed Pass. And another one. Pharagax Giant. Almost wanted to say leader for some reason. Snake of the Golden Grove. And we have 2 of those. Nessian Demolok, and it seems like we have 2 of those as well. So we have a at least a nice bit of cards and duplicates. Thunder Brute. Mistcutter Hydra, so that's our other rare that we get with this deck, so we'll push that up to the front. And then we have our basic lands, so we're going to count those after we get through our non-creature spells. So we have forests and mountains. We, of course, have Messenger's Speed, Fall of the Hammer, Lightning Strike, ×2, 2 Mortals Resolve, Ordeal of Nylea, Searing Blood, Destructive Revelry, Pinnacle of Rage, and Mischief and Mayhem. So all of our cards don't seem too expensive. We do have a little bit of ramping going on in this deck, which is pretty sweet. We have like the Voyaging Satyrs here and the Opaline Unicorn as well. So if we pull any big stuff out of red and green out of our packs, it's definitely considerable to include it in here, because red-green likes to play a lot of big creatures. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 forests, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 mountains, which seems a little bit high. So 26 lands total, 14 and 12. So that seems a little bit high. We probably want to shoot for like 24 or 25 here. If we're trying to go and play bigger creatures, maybe 25 lands, but 24 is the usual number that you want to have for a pretty normal Magic the Gathering deck, if normal is the word that we want to look for here. 24 is like the usual number that you want to have. And now let's take a look at our booster packs. So once we actually get into the booster packs and take a look at the cards that we have inside, then we're going to make some decisions on what we want to cut. I definitely think that 26 is probably a little bit too much in terms of the land base that's included. So we might want to cut that down. So we have a Fellhide Brawler, we have a Farah's Radiance, we have a Bolt of Keranos, which is a pretty good removal spell in red. We have Setessan Starbreaker, which is a cool card. Not sure if we can build around it with this deck. It plays off of Heroic, but we'll see what we can do. Marshmist Titan. We have a Kragma Butcher. Loyal Pegasus. Elite Skirmisher. Mortal's Resolve again. Another playable card for us. Asphyxiate. Ornitharch. We have Ashiok's Adept. Spiteful Returned. And we have Fated Intervention, which is actually very playable for us. So it's our rare in the pack. It's an instant for 5 mana, 2 generic and triple green. Put 2 3/3 green Centaur enchantment creature tokens onto the battlefield. If it's your turn, you get to scry 2. But at the same time, it is a instant speed spell. So if you don't want to play it during your turn, you can do it at the end of your opponent's turn and conserve mana and keep them guessing on whether you have like a combat trick or something. Then we have a Swamp, and we have a 3/3 enchantment creature Centaur token, which actually goes with our Fated Intervention, which is pretty sweet. So we do actually have some playable things out of here. So we have all of these, and we also have the potential of playing Kragma Butcher. However, I don't know if we're necessarily going to do that. And it's actually pretty sweet that we got that Centaur token. Now let's take a look at our other pack. Alright, so we have Rise to the Challenge, which is playable because it's a nice combat trick in red. Griffin Dreamfinder, Nyxborn Eidolon, Charging Badger. We have a Pharagax Giant, another playable card. Cyclops of One-Eyed Pass, yet again playable. Crypsis. We have a Culling Mark, a little bit less playable, I would probably have to say. Loyal Pegasus, Grizzly Transformation, Thassa's Rebuff, a Crow and Flanks, Lightning Volley, possibly playable for us. And our rare here is Fate Unraveler. So it's a 3/4 for 4 mana, enchantment creature Hag. And whenever an opponent draws a card, it is going to deal 1 damage to that player. So it's kind of like Underworld Dreams for you guys that have been playing for a little bit longer, except it's on a creature. So that's our rare. And then we have an island, and we have a enchantment creature 1/1 soldier token. So things that are playable out of here, we do have 3 cards that we could potentially play. Charging Badger is just too small. We want to be playing big things with this deck, and Culling Mark is not always the most amazing thing. Like, if anything, we could play it in the sideboard if it's going to prove to be beneficial more than anything. And Lightning Volley, it's an interesting card. I don't know if it's necessarily going to make it to the main board of our deck, but it's an interesting card. Probably a little bit more limited bound than anything else. That is, limited being kind of like the opposite of a constructed format, where in limited you're playing with sealed product and building decks, whereas with constructed you're actually bringing your own pre-built deck. So now let's take a look at the cards that we have. So Fated Intervention is definitely something I want to play, as well as Mortal's Resolve. Bolt of Keranos is a pretty sweet removal spell that deals 3 damage to a creature or player. So if we use it on a creature, we're able to get rid of it, and also lets us scry as well, so that's pretty cool. Pharagax Giant is a pretty able-bodied giant for us at the 5 mana slot, and it pretty much fits in well with what we're trying to do, as well as Cyclops. And Rise to the Challenge could be a pretty sweet combat trick for us. So let's see here. One thing that I do actually want to check out is whether we have a whole lot of cards that target for us. So we do actually have a decent bit of them, so we may actually just go and play our Setessan Oathsworn, because we have a lot of things that like interact with our own creatures, like Mortal's Resolve, Messenger's Speed, Fall of the Hammer. All of these cards, Ordeal of Nylea, all of them are going to interact with Heroic, and it's going to play off of our Setessan getting bigger. So the first 2 cards that I really don't like because they're kind of narrow is Reckless Reveler. It destroys artifacts. If you're worried about artifacts, you can put cards in your sideboard that will deal with artifacts, but I don't think it's anything that you should be worrying with, like Born of the Gods season of Magic play. However, if you know people that casually play and play a lot of artifacts, it's something to play in the sideboard. But I would probably rather play like Setessan Oathsworn over that. It's a really sweet card for green, and it's a pretty sweet card to play for a heroic type deck. So we already have that. We also have one more card that we can add there, so why don't we add another card that is Pretty low in mana cost, being a 4-drop, so we have another Cyclops that we can add in, giving us 3 of them total. So that's pretty sweet already. Other cards that I don't necessarily like would be like Setessan Starbreaker. It's another card where it lets us destroy auras. Again, it's a little bit narrow. It may not always be relevant for you, so let's leave it for a sideboard option card if anything else. And let's add a Pharagax Giant to our deck here, being another really solid 5-drop for us. And now we have 2 of those, which is pretty sweet. In terms of our removal, doesn't seem like anything is really bad for us here in our deck. All of the spells that we have are pretty sweet. Maybe Destructive Revelry, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Maybe you don't know if your opponent's going to be playing artifacts or enchantments, so we might again put that in the sideboard. But Pinnacle of Rage is actually pretty expensive at 6 mana to deal 3 damage to 2 target creatures and or players, so why don't we replace that with a Bolt of Keranos for now, because it's a little bit cheaper to actually be able to cast, and it's pretty useful with the Scry as well. You get to Scry off of it, and it's just good for being able to pinpoint one creature and get rid of it pretty easily. So with that, Mischief and Mayhem is pretty sweet. It interacts with Heroic again. But Destructive Revelry, we can take that out and we can play Fated Intervention to be our card that can give us 2 3/3s for 5 mana at an instant speed, which is awesome. And then the rest of our creatures are actually pretty solid. There's not really a whole lot that we necessarily need to change. Maybe Satyr Piper, because it's only a 2/1 creature for 3. We can change that for like Mortal's Resolve or Rise to the Challenge. And if I had to pick between the 2, probably Mortal's Resolve, because it's a card that will give Indestructible to one of our creatures, the one that we're targeting, and it also gives it a +1/+1 buff until the end of the turn, as well as Indestructible. It only lasts until the end of the turn. So already our deck looks pretty sweet now that we are able to play with a lot of different and new cards here, or some cards that will just further make our deck a little bit more consistent with some of the cards that we previously had. But ultimately, the deck is looking pretty sweet. It's a pretty sweet ramp-style deck. Now that I think of it, we had too many lands, so 26 lands. 26 is probably a little bit too much. We can go and we can take out like a forest because we have a lot of forests already. We have more forests than mountains, and it's probably not going to hurt us as much if we take out a forest rather than a mountain. So if we take out a forest, then we can play like Rise to the Challenge. So I actually was able to finally fit it in here. So now that we have all of that underway, we actually have a pretty sweet deck. Red-green is always sweet. You get to play a lot of big creatures. You get to play burn spells like Lightning Strike and whatnot. And it's a really good building point. It's really nice to be able to buy like one of these intro packs and just build with commons and uncommons that are in the Born of the Gods set, and be able to make your deck even just a little bit bigger and better each time you open up booster packs and get commons and uncommons, and maybe even rares or mythics, depending on what you pull. So thank you guys for watching the video, and if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel for more Magic the Gathering content. If you guys enjoyed this video and would like to see more Magic the Gathering content, you can hit the subscribe button on the screen and you'll be notified whenever a new video is available. And for those of you guys that enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh!, you can check out my Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel by clicking on the video in the top right hand corner. Also, be sure to check out our sponsors for the channel, ABU Games and Europe's MTG Madness, for all of your Magic the Gathering needs, no matter where you are.